Over the hills and far away. Traditional Frae lyrics. Jocky met with Jenny fair, oft by the dawning of the day. But Jocky now is full of pain, since Jenny stole his heart away. Although she promised to be true, she's proven, alas, to be untrue. Which gars poor Jocky, who often rues, that ever he lost his fickle mind. 'Tis over the hills and far away. 'Tis over the hills and far away. 'Tis over the hills and far away. The wind has blown my plaid away. 'Tis over the hills and far away. 'Tis o'er the hills and far away. 'Tis o'er the hills and far away. Since that she will nae pity take, I mourn and wander for her sake, and in ilk wood and gloomy grove I'll sighing sing adieu to love. Since she is fause whom I adore, I'll never trust a woman more. Frae their charms I'll flee away, and on my pipes I'll sweetly play. O'er the hills and dales and far away, o'er the hills and dales and far away, o'er the hills and dales and far away. The wind has blown me plaid away. Then the George Farquhar lyrics. Let's play the recruiting officer from 1706. Our apprentice Tom may now refuse to wipe his scoundrel master's shoes, for now he's free to sing and play over the hills and far away. Over the hills and o'er the main, to Flanders, Portugal, and Spain. The Queen commands, and will obey, over the hills and far away. We all shall lead more happy lives, by getting rid of brats and wives, that scold and brawl both night and day, over the hills and far away. Over the hills and o'er the main, to Flanders, Portugal, and Spain. The Queen commands, and will obey, over the hills and far away. Courage, boys, 'tis 1 to 10, but we return all gentlemen, while conquering colours we display, over the hills and far away. Over the hills and o'er the main, to Flanders, Portugal, and Spain. The Queen commands, and we'll obey, over the hills and far away. Now the lullaby version. Tom, he was a piper's son. He learned to play when he was young. The only tune that he could play was over the hills and far away. Over the hills and a long way off, the wind shall blow my topknot off, to Flanders, Portugal, and Spain, over the hills and far away. Now Tom with his pipe made such a noise, that he pleased both the girls and the boys, and they did dance when he did play, over the hills and far away. Over the hills and a long way off, the wind shall blow my top knot off, to Flanders, Portugal, and Spain, over the hills and far away. Now did Tom play with such a skill, that those nearby could not stand still, and over all head of they did dance, down through England, Spain, and France. Over the hills and a long way off, the wind shall blow my top knot off, to Flanders, Portugal, and Spain, over the hills and far away. And then these are the John Gay lyrics in The Beggar's Opera. It's a romantic dream of escape. No military references at all. It's between Macheath and Polly. Where I laid on Greenland's coast, and in my arms embraced my lass, warm amidst eternal frost, too soon the half-year's night would pass. Then Polly, where I sold on Indian soil, soon as the burning day was closed, I could mock the sultry toil, when on my charmer's breast reposed. Macheath, and I would love you all the day. Polly, every night would kiss and play. Macheath, if with me you'd fondly stray. Polly, over the hills and far away. Then the John Tam lyrics. O'er the hills and o'er the main, through Flanders, Portugal, and Spain, King George commands and we obey, o'er the hills and far away. Here's 40 shillings on the drum, to those who volunteer to come, to enlist and fight the foe today, o'er the hills and far away. Through smoke and fire and shot and shell, and to the very walls of hell, but we shall stand and we shall stay, o'er the hills and far away. Though I may travel far from Spain, a part of me shall still remain, and you are with me night and day, and o'er the hills and far away. Then fall in, lads, behind the drum, with colours blazing like the sun, along the road to come what may, over the hills and far away. When evil stalks upon the land, I'll neither hold nor stay me hand, but fight to win a better day, o'er the hills and far away. Let kings and tyrants come and go, I'll stand adjudged by what I know, a soldier's life I'll ne'er gainsay, o'er the hills and far away. The kings and tyrants come and go, a soldier's life is all I know, I'll live to fight another day, over the hills and far away. Old Wellington, he scratched his bum, he says, "Bonny lad, these had thee fun, my riflemen will win the day, over the hills and far away." And then Tam's version. Here's 40 shillings on the drum, for those who volunteer to come, to enlist and fight the foe today, over the hills and far away. O'er the hills and o'er the main, through Flanders, Portugal, and Spain, King George commands and we obey. Over the hills and far away, when duty calls me I must go, to stand and face another foe. But part of me will always stray, over the hills and far away. If I should fall to rise no more, as many comrades did before, then ask the fifes and drums to play, over the hills and far away. O'er the hills and o'er the main, through Flanders, Portugal, and Spain, King George commands and we obey. O'er the hills and far away. Then over the hills and far away, the Night Wish, but with the same tune version. They came for him one winter's night. They arrested Rob after a frightful fight. As they bound him, they tied his hands real tight. They said there'd been a robbery in the town of Galloway. Over the hills and far away, his pistol had been found nearby. They marched him to the station house. He waited till the dawn to meet his fate. Over the hills and far away, he dreams shall be with sweet Mary, on the greens and hills of Killarney. Over the hills and far away. And as they led him to the dock, he knew that he had been wronged. You stand accused of robbery. That's what he heard the bailiff say. He knew without an alibi, by tomorrow's light he would mourn his lost liberty. Over the hills and far away, for 10 long years he'll count the days. Over the hills and far away, his dream shall be of sweet Mary, on the green hills of Killarney. Over the hills and far away, over the mountains and the seas, a prisoner's life for him there'll be. He knew that it would cost him dear, but 'twas a truth that he must bear. Just where he'd been that fateful night, a secret it must stay. He had to fight back the tears away. His heart beat like a drum with might, for with the wife of his best friend, he spent his final night of freedom. Oh, over the hills and far away, his dream shall be with sweet Mary, on the green hills of Killarney. Over the hills and far away. Over the hills and far away, he swears he will return one day, far from the mountains and the seas. Back in her arms again he'll be. Over the hills and far away, his dream shall be with sweet Mary, on the green hills of Killarney. Over the hills and far away. Each night within his prison cell, he looks out through the rusty bars and dwells. He reads the letters that she wrote. One day he'll know now, be free of this plight. He mourns to steal away this night. Over the hills and far away, she prays he will return one day. As sure as the rivers reach the seas, back in his arms again she'll be. This is what his letters say. Over the hills and far away, he swears he will return one day, as sure as the river reached the seas. Back in his arms is where she'll be. Over the hills and far away, she prays he will return one day, as sure as the rivers reach the seas. Back in his arms is where she'll be. Over the hills and far away, his dream shall be with sweet Mary on the green hills of Killarney. Over the hills and far away, over the hills and far away, his dream shall be with sweet Mary on the green hills of Killarney. Over the hills and far away.